Hi, thought I'd share with you how I make my pesto to go with my pasta since I've cut out ultra processed food and replaced it with all homemade, and I want to share how you can do that. And it's not like, it's fun, and it doesn't mean that you can't eat things. It means you can eat whatever you want. You just make everything yourself from scratch. Like, you just don't buy condiments, or there are a few condiments that are not ultra processed, but for the most part, like, you want to make your own condiments. You make your own sauces, your own roux, your own pesto, everything. Definitely don't buy supermarket bread unless it's sourdough. For some reason, that's never ultra processed. From what I've seen, it's never got any of the artificial emulsifiers in it or potassium sorbate or anything. I want to demonstrate before I get into other videos where I'm going to talk about it in more depth, like why I think it's very unfortunate that we're moving away from that, but the pathologization of cutting out ultra-processed food and calling it an eating disorder. I want to show you, like, you can eat anything you want and cut out ultra-processed food. You can eat, dreaded carbs, pasta. I lost 3 stone last year. I mean, I gained 3.5 stone probably. I don't know exactly. I got to 10 stone exactly, and my height, that's quite big. And I lost it all really fast again early this year. I lost it all really just as fast, just cutting out ultra processed foods and limiting my doing intermittent fasting daily. So limiting my eating window to 4 hours. That's how I lost it, and now I'm maintaining currently. Let me take these off because I've got to steam up. So basically, I'm going to get some frozen vegetables from the freezer. Hang on. Where are they? That's it. I already started to thaw them. I have severe memory problems, you'll notice that. I already thawed them a tiny bit so that I wouldn't have to smash them so much to get them in. This is the Russell Hobbs Desire Matty Black Food Processor. I'm not sponsored currently, but phone me. This is the first time I've used it. I have just opened it and washed the glass out, just in case. It doesn't say to, but I think it's good to, just because there's so many appliances, they do say wash them because of stuff that will have got on them, all kinds of factory dust and things that get on them in factory processing. So I don't, there's no harm in just rinsing it out with water. So I normally use peas for my pesto. Like, the traditional thing is to use peas. I've actually run out of frozen peas. I just noticed earlier, so I thought, screw it. I'll get whatever's frozen is fine. And I have had this before. I have had, so this is mixed peas, carrots, and cauliflower. And it's fine. It's really good in a pesto. You get more nutrients because you've got the peas, but you've also got other vegetables. Smashing this thing up. And the reason I'm putting them in the food processor first, which might seem weird, is just so that I've got an idea of how much to put in this thing. My microwave Sistema steamer, also not sponsored, but again, call me. I'm going to microwave steam them that way. Pea stuck in there. And there is a mark on here. Max tells you how full it should get, and I don't want to exceed that mark, so that's why I'm putting the vegetables in there to start with. And my pasta is boiling behind me. I will try not to over boil it, but I don't usually talk while I'm cooking, so this is new for me. Hopefully I'll get better at it. I'm not going to completely fill it to the max line because I've got a few other things to put in with it. Obviously seasoning, and I'm going to chop up an onion and put bits of onion in there. I really think that ever since the World Health Organization and Oxford and Harvard got on board by saying, you know what, you guys that we were calling kooks all these years who were talking about artificial additives being bad and being like the cause of all sorts of things. When they finally admitted that we'd been right the whole time, well, they didn't actually say that. They just said, like, they just started saying what we've been saying, but completely not acknowledging the fact that they've been calling us kooks. Like, not acknowledging the fact that people were already saying this and they just didn't pay any attention to the science until they did certain other studies that they decided to actually pay attention to. Probably some kind of politics, inner politics, who knows why they ignored all the previous studies and just care about the more recent ones. But whatever the reason is, it's good that that's now happened, that they are now coming on board and saying, hey, yeah, you're right, artificial emulsifiers and some preservatives, like a potassium sorbate, are like the real cause of the obesity crisis. Not that every single person, but the majority of people in this current obesity crisis. It's not going to be often that you have a genetic condition that often. It's more common that it's, at this point, it's more common that it's because of the ultra-processed food. And like, the established organisations are coming on board now. I just find it weird that, like, there hasn't been a complete, in the same way that they didn't apologise to all the people they'd been insulting for saying that it matters, like, it doesn't just matter that you're eating vegetables, it matters if they're ultra-processed or not. Whether or not they were using those words, like, people were talking about this stuff. They didn't acknowledge the fact that they were wrong, but also I'm whatever. I'm also surprised by the fact that all these people who talked about this so-called orthorexia thing, like, they haven't come out, and I haven't seen anyone come out and be like, oh, whoops, I guess we were wrong. I guess all those people that we, like, pathologized, I guess they were actually right. I mean, not everyone, because I know there are, like, it's not just cutting out ultra-processed food. There are lots of different, like, styles of eating that would get you labelled with that. But, and I'm not saying that they're all healthy and fine. Obviously, there's many diets that are unhealthy. I just think if you're wrong about what's healthy, that's not a mental illness. In the same way that if you're wrong about, like, anything else, you don't call it a mental illness unless it meets the criteria for a delusion, which this would not. Like, if you're wrong because of misinformation, because you've read things online that are not true, that are misleading, and you just believe them without critically thinking, well, you're kind of normal. Most people do that. And so it's not an illness, is what I'm saying. It's an unfortunate side effect of most humans not being great critical thinkers, that we've got a million different diets out there that people are completely convinced is like the one true diet. With from, you've got the keto people, vegans. I mean, I'm not against any of these diets in particular. I'm just saying, like, there are people out there who think, like, no, this one way of eating is the only way that's truly completely healthy. That's just human nature. And if you happen to pick one that turns out not to actually be healthy, then that's still not a mental illness. You were just factually wrong about something. That's not a mental illness, just being wrong. And in this case, ultra-processed food, it's been proven, like, we were right. It's actually really bad for you. So how the hell is it a mental illness to be right? People tell me that. Like, if you were one of the people who called... If you called people, like, orthorexic and mentally ill because they didn't, like, bow to peer pressure at parties and stuff, like, aren't you a bit embarrassed now? I mean, I don't really care if you're embarrassed. I mean, I kind of want you to be a bit embarrassed because it really annoys me. It annoys me because it's genuinely serious, you know? Like, it's not like some petty thing. So, by the way, I just put salt and pepper in there. Not a big deal if you're wondering what I did. I just put salt and pepper in there. And this is, so this is Systema. You just put water in the bowl. I'm going to add more salt and pepper when I'm done, but I like to add a little bit throughout. You put this part on the top of the water. Then you put your vegetables. And it's very quick. I find for things like this, it normally takes like 3 minutes, but I like to do it for 2.5 and then see. And it depends on how much is in there and things like that, and whether it's raw or frozen. But usually, there's not very much in there, is there? I might actually put a bit more. Should I? Will that be enough? I think it might be enough. Got anything else to add to it, or should I just put more frozen vegetables in? Oh, I think I should turn this off before it overboils. Let me just check. Yeah, these are lovely, nice. Oh, look at how nice and I don't know if you can see. They're really nice and fat linguine now. What was I saying? Ultra-processed foods, like, it's now that it's actually been confirmed that, like, we were right, that it's the cause of... This is why it's so important. This is why I get annoyed and I'm a bit snarky about it, is because all the people who are saying orthorexia is a thing and diagnosing it and gaslighting people, and some of these people actually bought into it in the end and were like, yeah, you know what, I am diseased. It is me. I am the problem for complaining that I live in a food desert where all the bread is full of absolute shit and there's barely any food for me to actually eat. That the political issue of, like, people being surrounded with absolute shit replacement fake food, like fake bread that's just emulsifiers and a whole bunch of other crap in there that's called bread, called wholemeal, called healthy, and it's not even bread really, because it's, once you poison something, in my opinion, it's not food anymore. And yes, I'm going to use the word poison. I don't mean in a legal sense, so you can't sue me. I mean in a colloquial sense, in a common sense way of, does this harm you or not? Yes, it's proven it does. I consider that poison. I don't care what the law says. About how quickly it has to do it, and it has to be a bellyache or whatever stupid things. It's messing up your gut bacteria, which long term has all kinds of effects on your brain and everything. Oh yes, what I like to do is pour a tiny bit of the pasta water, just a tiny bit, in the... Oh, I don't want to, not too much, because for one thing, the glass will break, which is really bad. Put a bit more salt in there, pepper in there. And then I'm going to put this frozen vegetables in the microwave. But they actually had the nerve to tell people who are coming out of eating disorder clinics that, like, oh, you've just got a new eating disorder, when all they've actually done is figure out, like, the cause of their eating disorder, which is ultra-processed food, in many cases, not every case, because eating disorders did exist before ultra-processed food came along, which came along at different times in different countries, but it was all the last century. And I'm going to link to sources and studies that I'm referring to in the description below. But like, the explosion of eating disorders always follows ultra-processed food. Like, whenever you bring in ultra-processed food, suddenly people can't stop eating, one thing, you get the obesity crisis, and then you get people obsessed with trying to lose weight because it's not easy like it should be. It should be easy because you should feel full when you've had enough calories, and you don't when you're eating ultra-processed food. So the fact that you don't feel full by design, and they do these tests to make sure that the food that they are putting in people has the maximum effect of making them eat more, not taste. You'd think there'd be a correlation, but actually, like, you don't even like the food more. You just eat more of it because you don't feel full. You actually don't rank the taste any higher. You just don't feel full. So you just keep eating. I found on average 500 calories more per day in the controlled study. I'm going to link below. And so, yeah, this whole thing of, like, I mean, I love, okay, there were so many channels out there that are great channels in general for eating disorders, like professional ones and more lived experience channels. I'm not going to, well, I kind of think maybe I should name them, because I do like them. I want to plug these channels as well, like Borderliner Notes. It's actually about borderline personality disorder, but it's about all kinds of other things as well, related ADHD, eating disorders. And yeah, they like, that I was right on board, and then they ruined it by talking about orthorexia as a real thing. It's not in the DSM. For once, the DSM got something right first time. Like, they usually mess up quite a few times before they, like, putting homosexuality in there. They still haven't taken gender identity disorder out there, like, but they actually got something right in that they've never put orthorexia or anything that would actually be orthorexia in the DSM. Like, they recognised early on, like, oh no, this is some corporate bullshit. This is like propaganda from, clearly this is like sponsored behind the scenes, not the people saying it in public, but the people, like, it's propaganda, like the whole, abundance is the new greed, like the repackaging gluttony, and it's good that you can't stop eating our products. It's good that you can't stop wasting your money on excessively giving us money so that you can get fat. Like, repackaging that as, oh, isn't it good that we can all eat as much as we want? Like, it would be good if we just felt full when we were actually full. like we used to, like our great-great-grandparents did, because they didn't have any of this. I guess they all have orthorexia, right? They didn't eat any ultra-processed foods. They must have been orthorexic. So, yeah, and then I'm putting the cooked frozen vegetables in the food processor. I do think I haven't put enough in there, but oh well. I did put quite a lot of linguine in, so I think the amount of pasta I've got is going to make up for my lack of pesto, and the flavour as well. The flavour's going to be amazing. So I've got my tiny bit of organic apple cider vinegar. A tiny little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Which is in there somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah, if you remember, I took my glasses off, so I'm struggling a tiny bit to see. Sometimes I put balsamic vinegar in there. It depends on what kind of other spices and stuff I'm going to put in. But yeah, basically, like, the evidence is showing that eating disorders, like, the majority of them out there are actually caused by ultra-processed food in the first place. So people, there isn't, as some channels have said, and there is a video out there by someone I actually really like, and it's they do a lot of videos on eating disorders and other subjects related to mental health and other subjects, and the title is the eating disorder to, or the anorexia, I think, to orthorexia pipeline. And it's just such a shame, because I know that that's what's being said in these clinics, like, oh, make sure you want to eat the shit bread we give you. You know, the National Health Service can't afford to give you real bread. We're going to give you the shit fake bread full of shit that fucks up your gut bacteria even more than it's already fucked up. And it's only going to, which is why a lot of the fears come true for anorexics. They think, oh, if I start eating normally, I'm actually going to not stop and I'm going to get fat. Some percentage do that, and they wouldn't if there wasn't ultra-processed food. Far fewer would if they weren't being force-fed ultra-processed food instead of real food. So, tiny bit more pepper. Don't want to put too much pepper in. I have put too much pepper in the past, and it ruins it. It's terrible. I was going to put a tiny bit of ginger in there. I got some brand new ginger the other day. I'm going to put this half-chopped onion from the other day when I was making a curry. I'm just going to quickly chop this onion and then put the roots in there. This food processor says not ultra processor. Remember, processing is fine, just not ultra processing. This it says it might be a bit much. I don't know. I might save a little bit of this onion for later. I like to eat raw onion sometimes. That's fine. Not loads, just a tiny bit is fine on your mouth. And this, by the way, onion and vinegar and salt, they're all natural emulsifiers. If you're wondering like what emulsifiers do in the food, well, they just do the same as what you would do yourself when you add salt and vinegar. I mean, not just, obviously they add a lot of flavour as well, but, you know, they act in the same way, but they don't destroy your gut bacteria and make you want to constantly eat when you don't need to. So this is a tiny bit of ginger from my ginger root here. I love ginger. Oh, I love ginger. Notice I have no idea how much salt I'm putting in. It does not matter. Like, the evidence is showing that all the harm that they thought was being done by sugar and salt and sort of total fat content is not. I mean, there are some types of oil that are bad for you, like too much polyunsaturated is bad for you, too much of it, and that's why I try to avoid anything with like rapeseed oil, palm oil, vegetable oil, but olive oil is good, ghee is good. But like saturated fat, not a big deal. That does not matter as long as what you're eating in is not ultra processed. Salt, Obviously, an acute overdose of salt can kill you, but that's true of like any ingredient. Anything that we need in excess could kill us. I like to put either nutritional yeast or tahini in mine for that cheesy, nutty flavour. I'm a vegetarian, aspiring vegan. I have been vegan in the past, but I've always stayed true to, like, I don't want to buy meat. So that's I do want to point out, though, that's not for health reasons, because I do think it's important to point out the difference that I don't believe that eating meat is inherently bad for you. I think ultra-processed anything is bad for you. So my reasons for being vegetarian are ethical, they are not health-based. So yeah, I think it's important to make that distinction, because we need to be clear with people, and like, it's actually not that complicated to eat healthily. Like with all these fancy diets, like it's, oh, this particular type of food, that particular type of food. The evidence is actually built up that it doesn't matter what kind of diet you're on. It's only when you ultra-process it that it becomes bad. It doesn't matter if it's the Mediterranean diet, or if it's like the Eskimo diet, or if it's like very wildly different diets, Southeast Asian, rural diets, whatever it is. Like, these are very different in terms of macronutrients, and the so-called food groups, which is such a silly oversimplification. And they massively oversimplify it, but actually it's not the case that it really matters which of those diets you're on. It's only when you make ultra-processed versions. When you make ultra-processed pizza, it's not pizza anymore. It's just dog shit that doesn't belong in the human body. And it makes you want to eat more of the dog shit. It's terrible. And like, real pizza is good for you. Real pizza's great. Eat real pizza. With cheese, everything. It doesn't matter. Today I'm going to go with smoked paprika. I do like to use fresh herbs a lot of the time, but not all the time. Right now I do not have any left. I'm going to check. I don't think I have any of my basil. I think I have some lovely fresh basil, but I think it's all gone. Yeah, it's all gone. So I put smoked paprika. I'm thinking of tarragon. No, I'm not sure actually. I don't think that'll go well. Bay leaves. Okay, yes, I know this is normal for curry, but it smells like it's going to go nicely. But I'm going to put that on afterwards. Mix it in with the pesto afterwards. Thyme. Tiny bit of thyme. I've only got a little bit of that left. Add some thyme. Oh, I've got so many to choose from up here. So many spices and herbs. Oh, garlic! How did I forget the garlic? I always make some hot garlic fresh. Garlic, which counts as a vegetable and as a herb for cooking purposes. So make sure that you cook, to make sure it doesn't taste bitter when you're peeling garlic, chopping garlic. If there is a green part in the middle, you want to remove that green part, just because it's fine, it's just it tastes bitter. It's where it's starting to sprout. So I can take that middle part out. Oh no, I dropped the garlic. Okay, I've got one piece left though. I dropped one garlic clove. What a shame. But no, this is very important. I mean, I won't go into my own very long, complicated health and diet history, but I have experimented with different diets, and I did become underweight. And there was interesting aspects to that. I was never diagnosed with an eating disorder. I never went though. But I actually don't. The weird thing is, to this day, I know that it was never motivated by normal eating disorder things. But after that, after that, like, it taught me that it can be enjoyable to restrict, which is weird. But I do think there is a biological element to it, which is why I say it's not completely ultra-processed. It's whenever you lose weight for any reason, even if it's by accident, and it has nothing to do with body image, and it has nothing to do with, like, when it could be like political strike, it could be like hunger strike, it could be whatever it is. People who were in the concentration camps in World War II, some small percentage of them developed anorexia. They felt guilty eating. And it actually makes sense from an evolutionary point of view. There's a link, I'm going to leave a link to this line of research as well that says, like, actual pure anorexia, which is the, like, restrictive anorexia, is the most uncommon eating disorder there is. I should put this in here first. And it's actually the one that is genetic, in the sense that we've all maybe got like a switch that we can turn on that is about famine. It's about survival in famine. It's about not wanting to eat all the food that you've got too quickly so that everyone starves. You want to, and this is more prevalent in parts of the world where you could store food. Like, it was possible to have food that you could keep at least a little bit, maybe a couple of days. And therefore, there was no benefit to just eating everything you found immediately. You actually wanted to ration it and save it for later. That would help you survive famine. So we've got, along with other species, there's a guilt part of the brain that's activated in calorie restriction. When you go into a certain drop below a certain drop below your ideal body weight enough, this switch gets flipped in a very primitive part of the brain that other animals have too, and it actually makes you feel virtuous for not eating. And so it's to counteract the ravenous side. There's a counterpoint so that you don't actually eat everything, including each other. I think these theorists haven't actually talked about this, but I suspect there's an element of it also prevents cannibalism. If you have some impulse in you that says, do you know what, I actually feel good about not just eating everything in sight, even though I'm starving, this counterintuitive thing. So, and I believe that kicked in for me, because I had no real motive at that time. Since then, I gained weight, and I didn't like it for various reasons. I didn't like how it sat on me, how I felt, how it slowed me down, how I felt out of breath easily, and how itchy and sweaty everything became. And I didn't like how I looked in the kind of clothes I liked to wear. And it just wasn't my aesthetic. Even though, like, the aesthetic right now is to have a big bum. For one thing, I don't really want a big bum, and it's just not my aesthetic. I liked bigger boobs. When my boobs got bigger, I liked it, but then they got too big and it was uncomfortable, and I didn't like that either. So it was never about wanting to look a certain way, and yet and at the time, it wasn't. It felt like some evolutionary thing inside me, just like this theory says, where I just felt virtuous for not eating. And it only happened because I was intermittent fasting, and I did it really well, apparently. And I also had the thing where I couldn't see that I was skinny until I looked at pictures back, which is really weird, because my motive wasn't to be skinny. And yet I still had that same thing that is all usually blamed on, like, society. And it's like, it can't be society, because I wasn't doing it for societal reasons at that time. I have multiple reasons for caring about what I eat now, but at that time I didn't care at all what I looked like. This was years ago, and I hadn't developed... I was a late bloomer in terms of caring what I looked like. So, that's interesting. I'm just going to now finally process this. I think I've forgotten anything. Let me bring it over here to see. So you put this lid on here. I might need to put more. It's not becoming very liquidy. I might add a bit more water. And the reason for the pasta water is you want a tiny bit of starch in there to make it more sticky. But although the tahini will also definitely... Put a tiny bit of water and vinegar in there. help if it was a lot more full. I think I'm going to put more water and more oil and more vinegar in there. And I might have soy sauce, actually. Sometimes I like a little bit of soy sauce with it, with this sort of mixture of the paprika. And when I don't have basil or mint, because when I have fresh herbs, I like to put fresh basil, fresh mint in there. But I don't have those, so yeah, it's just bean. As if you remember, it's been just pepper and paprika and garlic for the main flavour, and onions in there as well. That will add flavour. Ginger. That's plenty. More water. Definitely use more water. And more vinegar. I love apple cider vinegar. I actually hate cider, and I hate most alcohol, though, so that's probably for that reason. I only like it if it tastes really sweet, but apple cider vinegar is delicious with it. Now that's a lot mushier looking. That's better already. So I put oil, water, and vinegar in. It's not going to be a lot of pesto, but I don't really need a lot of pesto in my pasta. But personally, you can put as much as you want. This is just a demonstration of how I have to make mine. Very loud. I don't remember my last food process being as loud as this. And it was exactly the same brand and everything. I believe it's just the same one, but I'm actually finding this very loud. The reason I had to buy a replacement is because it was not their fault, it was my fault. I stupidly tried to wash it in boiling water and I made a crack, which is not safe. You don't want cracks in something like this with a blade flying around really fast. You do not want to be in a situation where the glass shatters. Seriously want like industrial scale earmuffs for this. It's so loud. Are my ears just better? It's because I normally have it might be because I normally listen to music as I'm doing it. That might be the reason. I just don't notice. I'm already deafening myself in my own music. Here we go. Plating up. A tiny bit more to more. Going. Oh, it's a tiny bit stuck, not too stuck. I hate when pasta gets stuck to the saucepan, but the reason I don't have any non-stick pans because it's really bad for parrots, and I did have a parrot before he sadly died unexpectedly and suddenly, and I've never given up hope that I will one day be in a position to get another parrot. But they are a big responsibility. You have to make sure that the circumstances are right. And are going to be right for a long time, depending on the species. They can live, you know, he would have lived 30 years, he should have. Only lived 5, sadly. But that's why I can't have ones. But, well, I could now, but I don't want to invest in something that eventually I will not use again because of hopefully one day getting another parrot. Let's do one more spin. Yeah. Here we go. I don't know what this looks like to you, but it's absolutely smells amazing. I'll probably take that blade out so I don't drop it on my foot, which I do have boots on right now, but sometimes I cook in bare feet, and every now and then I drop a knife and almost have a horrible injury. A massive bruise on my toe from the other day where I dropped something in the kitchen on it. I've started to wear full-on boots in the kitchen. And yeah, this is so simple. Wasn't this simple? That's the point. I'm not saying like, this is not about being a gourmet chef. This is just, hey, isn't this nicer and ultimately cheaper than buying your own pesto? Because for the small amount of the vegetables and things that you put into it, that's a small amount of the money that you're paying for your groceries. You get more bang for your buck, and you don't mess up your gut bacteria and make yourself get more high risk of dementia and things because of all the various additives and other reasons. It's not even just the additives, interestingly. As I say, I'll link to information about this stuff, and I will be talking about this subject in a lot more detail. I want to review the book Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tulleken. I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about some of his takes on like what we should do about the problem are a bit different to mine, but his science is can't complain about his science at all, and his pedigrees. You know, he's one of those people that now he's on board. It's like how. You know, lots of people are on board. I constantly meet people like taxi drivers, just random people you meet who know about this stuff now and are trying to incorporate the knowledge into their lives. Trying to buy sourdough or trying to buy bread that's baked at the local bakery, where you know, and even then checking. Do you don't just get an ultra processed batch of stuff and bake it on the premises like the supermarkets often do that. They say it's freshly baked, but all they mean is it comes from like a packet of ultra processed mix, and they bake the mix full of ultra processed chemicals. It's bullshit. But I see people taking this seriously now. Where should I eat this today? Oh, I'll just show you right here. All the different colours. Like the more colourful your food is, the better it is for you.